So our last speaker, we saved best for last. We got Cherie down there. And how many have heard of the book Business Mastery? So Cherie?
Well, it's very hard to, going first and going last are the worst things on a panel. But what's amazing is I've known all of these people, and some of them extremely well, but what I didn't know some of the ways how our paths have crossed. I grew up in the restaurant business. My first golfing session was in 1975. I actually worked for a Rolfer for a while, doing her marketing. And anything else she needed having done. That's how I paid for my golfing sessions. And for me, I have always been doing massage all my life. As a kid, I can remember I was working on animals. If anybody in my family wasn't feeling good, I was the one who was always massaging them. So massage has always been a part of my life. When I was in college, I'll date myself here, as Ryan calls me mom. When I was in college, I just took workshops whenever I could afford it. I was not from means. I grew up in a poor family. So it was, I remember I wanted to do this shiatsu workshop, and it was $15. And it was so hard for me to come up with that $15. I could blow $15 in a second now. But, I did that, and I took these classes, and it wasn't for professionals, just for my personal, like James, you were talking, it was my personal experience of what I wanted to do, because I was just part of who I was. And so I took all these workshops, and somehow I'm going to track some of these people down, because I have a feeling I took a class with John Upledger before he became John Upledger, and all these people, because that was my passion. So one of the first things is stay with what your passion is. I had no idea. When I was in college, I did all sorts of things to earn money. I worked in an acupuncture clinic. I babysat too. I did, and one of the interesting things is I found out later that one of the young boy at the time that I babysat for ended up becoming a massage therapist because of me. I wasn't a massage therapist anymore. But because I don't know, he probably was sore and I probably massaged his neck, or something, but I have always talked about massage and the benefits of massage, because I have known personally what massage has done for me and what it does for other people. So when I got out of college, I went to UCLA, and I forgot who else said they had their bachelor's degree in psychology. Well, that's what I have too, so there's some really interesting connections here. And I was doing consulting, helping these two people set up a wellness clinic, and there wasn't such a thing at the time. And we found them over $1 million with the funding, and this was in the early 70s. That was a whole lot of money. Still a whole lot of money, but really, particularly back then. And worked with them for 6 months, created their business plan for them, and then they backed out. As soon as it became real and the money was there, they had to choose. And here I am, I just graduated college, and I was heartbroken. And that week, 4 of my friends called me up and said, Cherie, if you work on my body, I'll pay you. And I'm like, okay. One door closes, one door opens. Ryan, you said you were forced into going to massage school, and like some others, I fell into it. I wasn't planning it. 3 years later, I said, maybe I should go to school. I seem to be doing this as a career, and education is very important to me, so I wanted to go back. Now, in those days, there were hardly any massage schools. And I went to the longest program in my area that I lived in, and it was 120 hours. But that was, I think it was like 81 by the time I went to school, because I started doing massages every day. So, it's you now have such better opportunities, and the education you're getting is so much more in depth. So you're very, very lucky. Sometimes you might think, well, why should I have to do this? But it's fabulous. And, this way, I had to take all these things beforehand. You get it as part of your education. But as other people say, Laura particularly, is you're always going to want to keep taking more and learning more, just because it's exciting. Yeah, and sometimes you just go, oh, learn this. Going to these expos, a couple things, for just a classes for your own learning, but also to see what kind of products are out there, what other kind of techniques. Because once you get out of school, you know, you've learned your basic stuff, but then there might be something you decide, well, I really want to specialize in this. And the only way you're going to understand what that is to come to things like this and experience it. If you don't take a class on it, maybe they've got a booth and you can get a little taste of different kinds of work. But I started off, so I did massage for many, many years, but also at the same time, I was also doing a lot of, we called it consulting work back then. That was really coaching work. And I've been leading seminars since I was in college. Created my first communication workshop when I was 19 years old. And so I've been doing all of this, and I discovered that I learned the hard way how to market. You know, I lived in Southern California by the beach. So what happens when I had no clients? I was playing. So I learned the hard way. I was reading books, I took workshops, I took all the, you know, it was the 70s too, so you know, all this personal growth work, which was fabulous because that's what made the difference in my life. But I learned how to do this, and I had the ability to help my colleagues learn how to market themselves. You know, like many other people here, my degree wasn't in marketing, it was in psychology. But that's really what marketing is, truly. So I've done that, and I've moved through the things, you know. There's some people here, and I am really amazed by the people who are doing other things and still doing massage. To me, I needed to switch my focus. It was too hard for me to do both. You know, being on the road, I was on the road for many years all the time. And so to keep a private practice didn't work. So I focused on that. So I went from being a massage therapist to coaching to teaching to writing books. And now I think what I do, people ask me what do I do professionally, I think I volunteer. I probably spend a good 20 hours a week volunteering. But I'm at a place in my life, personally and professionally and financially, where I can do that. But I've always volunteered. So I encourage you to get involved and do things and volunteer. But the most important thing is, when I was in college, I took this class, and the professor asked, if you could be doing anything, anywhere, and earn money doing it, what would you do? And here I was 19 years old, and I thought, if I could sit at the beach and hang out with people all day, get paid for that, that'd be really cool. Well, guess what? That's really what I do. Not always at the beach, unfortunately, but I hang out with people, whether it was with my clients, whether it's teaching, whether it's talking. That's what I do. That essence stays through. So when you're on this path, you never know exactly where you're going to end up. But as long as you stay true to what's really important to you, then all sorts of miraculous and wonderful things can happen. And I can tell you, I feel like this is really old home week for me. You know, I think, Laura, you're the one who said this is like going to a family reunion. And I have family reunion here in my front row. Lauren was my student.